Hello again, this is Mohammed Miligi and another video about AngularJS. If you missed my previous videos about AngularJS, you can check them on the YouTube channel, link it just under this video, or you can go ahead to gurustop.net and check out the archive. Today's video is about creating recursive trees using AngularJS templates and the include directive. You might have found that recursive templates are usually hard in AngularJS and in other template formats as well, but we will see how easy it can be achieved this time. We will have a simple example showing this tree where in the first level we have item A and item B. Each one of them have items 1, 2, 3, and just to show a bit more of recursion, we will have the first item here having 1, 1 and 1, 2, and the same for the last item under P3, P3, 1 and P3, 2. So to get that going, I have had the JSON objects hooked to an empty AngularJS controller in here and assigned to the scope variable items so that we can loop over them going forward. And we will try to display them. To get a tree going with like maximum level of code reuse, we better have a template that we can really use for each level of the tree. I say level and not item because most of the time your tree doesn't exactly start from one single node. Usually you would have a list that have children. This is more realistic, so it might be more realistic as well to make our trees take each level of the tree, including the top level, and render it as well as its children. So to do this, we will start by creating a template. In AngularJS, you can create a template using the script tag. And in order to tell AngularJS and the browser to treat the script tag correctly so that it doesn't treat it as an as a JavaScript expression, for example, and so that AngularJS can detect it as a template, we will go ahead and say text type equal text slash ng-template, and we will give it a name using the standard HTML ID property. So here I'll say, for example, tree level, and I'll also add .html. It doesn't exactly have to be .html or so, but like it's nice to make it look like a URL because that's how AngularJS expects your templates to be. So AngularJS would expect that you would be loading the templates from a path, a URL path. So it will first, when you try to call a template, it will check, did anyone define a script or programmatically add to the Angular template cache some template that has this URL as its name? If yes, it will just use that, and if not, it will do what it thinks that you would really want, which is go ahead and fetch the HTML file that includes this template and render it. In our template, we can start by solving the easy part of the problem, which is rendering just one level of the tree. So we'll try to go ahead with the top level. For rendering the top level, there is nothing really that's surprising for you if you have been doing Angular for a while. It's just the good old ng repeat business. So I'll say ng repeat item in items. You realize I used the variable items directly. So to keep this simple, we will try to be reusing the template within our tree, but not like universally in every single application or anything like that. Just a trade-off between reusability and simplicity. So I'll go ahead in here and I'll say item.text, which is the property that contains the name or the label of each of the items. Going ahead with that, I have had my template created, but I haven't called it yet, so I'll go ahead and do that. I'll say here's div where I want my template to render, and to tell AngularJS that I need to render template in here, we use the include directive. And in include directive, you're supposed to include the JavaScript expression that evaluates to the name or the URL path of the template. So if I enter something like treelevel.html like this, nothing would really happen because it expected a JavaScript expression, and that's not a JavaScript expression as it is. So I'll solve that by wrapping it in code so that it looks like a JavaScript string. And yes, we see the first level created. To create the following level, we want to loop over the children and go recursively and include that template. So we can easily do that by just taking the same version in here. Except what we want to do is I will stop auto-saving in here so that we don't keep going recursively, because we keep saying, okay, give us the top items and load again, and give us top items and load again. If you're using an editor, not something that has auto-run, you wouldn't really have this problem. And then I'll say, okay, so you'll include this, and here it says item in items, so I want to provide another set of items for the include to use it. So here I'll say onload equals items equals item.children. You might be surprised from reusing the item variable in here, and actually even the items. So the idea is that we will always get new scopes in here. Every time we have include, we'll get a new scope that inherits from the current scope. So we can use this so that inside the template we can tell that items actually have item, which is also in our scope, because it's just like having child controllers, where the child controller scope have access to the parent properties. So here we have access to the item and we can call it children, but we can override items only in this div so that we can do the list. So that when we go inside here again, we can see the new items. Let's see if that works. We say run, and yes, we didn't just get the second level, we actually got the third level correctly as well. And to prove that this works without affecting anything, I will do a bit of an experiment and have a checkbox that relates to each item in there, and see how that selecting a single checkbox will only affect a single item. So I'll go ahead in here. Let's say input type equals checkbox, name equal item selection, for example, and gmodel equal, and then I will add a property inside the item. Let's call it selected. And then once I get this, I'll try to display, and we see that a single item does not affect anything else. Of course, if what you want is including all the children, you can do something like ng change in here and call a method in the controller that loops over the children and marks them as selected when you select a parent. But the purpose of this one is really to show that this doesn't affect any other item other than the one selected. And I can also show this in here by displaying the actual JSON objects. So I'll go ahead and say pre /pre. Inside this guy we want to see our items. Here we are at the top of the controller, so we see the items as they are defined on the scope, and we want to see them as JSON so that we can see the properties change in front of us. So I'll go ahead with that, and now we got this selected. So if I say look at item A has just the text and all the children that ends in here. So once I do this, it got the new property selected and nothing else has a property selected. And if I go ahead and remove the selection, selected is false only for this item. If I go and select the last one, yes, only the last one is affected. The first one is still false, and that's it. That's very, very, very easy. Actually, we can use the same thing on the top level as well. So let's say our items was called something like source items or whatever that's specific to the controller, and now this guy, this template, expects us to always have something called template. We can also go ahead in here and say onload equals items equals source items. And once I fix this to source items as well, we should see it working as it was before. Yes, we have selection working, and yep, that was that easy to go ahead and do infinite level of 3 items. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Please tell me what you liked and what you didn't like in the comments, and tell me if you have any questions as well. You can contact me via my blog gurustop.net. There should be a blog post covering the same material in here, link it in the description. You can also reach me via Twitter as @Meligi. And that's it for now. Until next video.